Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we are going to talk about another complication of cirrhosis, that is hepatic encephalopathy. So what is hepatic encephalopathy? Hepatic encephalopathy is a reversible neuropsychiatric syndrome which is caused by the liver diseases. Let's talk about the pathophysiology. Normally in the gastrointestinal tract, the ammonia and other nitrogenous substances are produced by the bacteria. These ammonia and the nitrogenous substances through the portal circulation enters into the liver, and this ammonia and other nitrogenous substances converts into urea, which is less toxic as compared to ammonia, and then this urea in the normal healthy liver enters into the systemic circulation and excreted out through the kidneys. But when there is an impairment in the liver function, this ammonia and other nitrogenous substances becomes elevated, and this ammonia then enters into the systemic circulation and then ultimately into the CNS. And these nitrogenous substances or neurotoxins acts like a neurotransmitters like GABA, octopamine, merceptins, fatty acids, and amino acids. These are the toxic substances which acts like a neurotransmitters and derange the CNS or the brain function. There are some factors which precipitates the hepatic encephalopathy. These are drugs, especially the sedatives and antidepressant drugs, dehydration, which may be due to the use of diuretics and paracentesis in the ascites, as well as hypokalemia. This low level of potassium may be due to because of excessive use of diuretics in the cirrhosis, as well as infections. In the infections, there is a increased level of bacteria. Due to bacterial action, there is overproduction of nitrogenous substances, which also precipitates the hepatic encephalopathy. And portosystemic shunt, this is important factor. Due to the portosystemic shunt formation, there is a shifting of blood from directly from the GIT and without passing through the liver into the systemic circulation. So ammonia and other nitrogenous substances directly enters into the systemic circulation without metabolizing in the liver. Constipation and protein overload, because the end product of protein metabolism is ammonia and urea. So protein overload also precipitates the hepatic encephalopathy. So these are the some precipitating factors. Now come to the clinical picture or clinical features of hepatic encephalopathy. The clinical features are mental deterioration, poor concentration, confusion, and in very severe cases, coma or unconsciousness, and astraxis or flapping tremors like the flapping of the bird's wing during the flying, and constructional apraxia. This is basically the patient is unable to draw the objects like stars or any other things because of poor concentration and mental deterioration. Bilateral extensor plantar response. Normally, the plantar response is flexor, but in the case of hepatic encephalopathy, there is bilateral extensor plantar response, which is also called Babinski sign because of the name of biologist or scientist who discovered this extensor plantar response. The other features are fetor hepaticus. Fetor hepaticus is basically egg rotten or musty smell from the breath of the patient, but this fetor hepaticus, which is due to marceptins, is more prominent or more important in portosystemic shunts than the hepatic encephalopathy. The other features are hyperreflexia and rigidity or exaggerated reflexes. Now come to the differential diagnosis. We have discussed the different stages or grades of hepatic encephalopathy in my previous video on the acute liver failure. Now come to the differential diagnosis. Differential diagnoses are intracranial bleed, that is subdural or extradural bleed, or Wernicke's encephalopathy due to vitamin B1 or thiamine deficiency, and delirium tremens, which is basically a feature of alcohol withdrawal, and hypoglycemia, that is low level of glucose, drugs or alcohol poisoning, and psychiatric disorders or neurological Wilson's disease. So these were the differential diagnoses of hepatic encephalopathy. Now come to the investigations. It is usually diagnosed clinically, but EEG also is important. In the EEG, initially the alpha waves usually represent the relaxation state, and these are normal in healthy individuals. And but in the EEG, these alpha waves slowly replaced by the delta waves. These delta waves are present in the deep sleep or in the comatose state, in the dreamless deep sleep. So these alpha waves usually and gradually replaced by delta waves in hepatic encephalopathy. When the patient is doubtful or suspicious about the hepatic encephalopathy, then EEG is important. Other tests are arterial blood ammonia levels. This test is of less diagnostic value in the investigations because sometimes the ammonia levels are high but hepatic encephalopathy is not there. Now come to the management. In the management of the precipitating factors, as we have discussed previously, and the suppression of neurotoxins or nitrogenous waste which is produced by the bacteria is important principles that the doctor should suppress and treat the precipitating factors first. The dietary protein restriction, this step is not much important because if we restrict the proteins, it may lead to the severe malnutrition in the patient. The other important diagnostic steps are give the patient lactulose 15 to 30 ml 3 times a day, and this lactulose decreases the pH of the colon. When the pH of the colon is reduced or decreased, it decreases the ammonia absorption from the GIT. Due to reduced ammonia absorption from the GIT, ultimately there is decreased formation of neurotoxins or waste products in the circulation. The other steps are give the patient rifaximin, which is actually antibiotic 400 mg per day 3 times daily. This rifaximin actually decreases the bacterial load or decreases the bacterial flora in the gut or in the colon, decreases bacterial load or decreases the gut flora, due to which there is reduced production of ammonia and other nitrogenous waste products. The liver transplant, this is indicated only in severe hepatic encephalopathy or refractory, which is not treated by lactulose and rifaximin. Then liver transplant is the indication for the management of hepatic encephalopathy. So this was all about hepatic encephalopathy. We will discuss the other complications of cirrhosis or chronic liver disease in my next videos. Thank you so much for watching this video.